So that, in our 91.103, Northwest Craft Items, is our NOTAMs and weather. So anytime you come fly with me, that's what I expect you to have. Here's my weather brief. I've interpreted it, and I've looked at the NOTAMs and determined that there's nothing in the area that's going to be hazardous to our flight. Next is our known delays. We'll go to nasstatus.faa.gov. We'll go to map view because pictures are easy. And it doesn't look like there's anything in our airspace that is causing delays today. That's what you like to see. But if we do see something, like all these over here, we can go to the list view or the tile view, and it'll tell you there is a ground delay at Dallas-Fort Worth for wind. So heavy winds are delaying traffic. Or RIL, I don't know where that is. There's an airport volume, so that's why there's a delay. And you can see there's a bunch of other delays. Airport closures, there's de-icing because it's cold and wet. So if there's anything affecting our flight today, I would like you to know it. So you show up to the airfield. Hey, Monty, it looks like there is nothing delaying there are no delays in our airspace today. Awesome. That's what I love to hear. All right, known delays. Next is our runways. You'll go to the chart supplement or your chart and find the runway length, width, and composition of the runways we expect to use. Alternates, where are we going to go if we can't make it home? So we're first starting at Payne, and we're going up to Lake Stevens. We've got Harvey, we've got Arlington. If we're going all the way up to Bellingham, we also have Skagit. That might be a good alternate. But you should know where we're going for the day, and if you can't make it home, where are we going to go? What's our out? Always give yourself an out. Next is our fuel. We'll talk about how to calculate fuel later on. It is a bit involved, but it gets easy once you understand it. The short version, though, is whatever you need to make it to your destination, plus an additional 30 minutes of fuel at cruise. At night, that needs to be an additional 45 minutes rather than 30 minutes. And of course, you should always add your own personal minimums on top of that. And then finally, your takeoff and landing distances. This will be found in your aircraft's pilot operating handbook. And also, you're going to want to know how to get this stuff, not just for the test, but this is real world stuff too. Every time we go fly, this is the stuff that should be on your knee board, ready to. Let's talk a little bit about risk management. Risk management in aviation is identifying and mitigating risk. Now, what is a risk and what's a hazard? A hazard is a present condition, event, object, or circumstance that could lead to or contribute to an unplanned or desired event, such as an accident. It is a source of danger. For example, a nick in the propeller represents a hazard. Whereas a risk is the future impact of a current hazard that is not controlled or eliminated. It is the possibility of loss or injury. The level of risk is measured by the number of people or resources affected, the extent or possible loss, and the likelihood of loss. So hazards, to recap, a hazard is a current thing that is presenting a potential problem. And then a risk is what could happen if you don't mitigate or if you don't address that hazard, right? Now, we have a couple different ways of mitigating risk in aviation. And the FAA doesn't want you waiting until you are, at your solo phase to start thinking about risk management. Risk management should start day one, your discovery flight. So the FAA has the DECIDE model, which is a little convoluted. It's worth studying, but you could condense it all down into the astronaut's guide. If you guys fly with me all the time, you'll hear me talk about the astronaut's guide to life on Earth. And Colonel Chris Hadfield, a T-38 F-18 and pilot and astronaut, says that there are 3 steps for astronauts to work a problem. There's the warn phase, gather, and work the problem. So first, we warn our team. I always say that as a pilot in command, nobody's coming to save you, but you always have a team at your disposal that can help you overcome problems. You can talk to your flight instructor, your co-pilot, your crew, ATC, your mechanic. Anybody who happens to care about you is a potential teammate. So warn your team, hey, there's a problem. I have an issue with my aircraft or whatever. Then gather information. Don't just attack the problem all willy-nilly. You might cause more problems if you don't think about the problem first. I actually just read this morning, the reason that British tanks have hot water dispensers is because they want their They're soldiers to be able to pour themselves a cup of tea without leaving the tank. So you pour yourself a cup of tea, think about the problem, think about your next steps, take a breath, take a beat, gather information about it, and then work the problem. Systematically attack the problem using science, using a checklist, and monitor the results. Like, is this course of action that we're taking, is it doing the thing we expect it to do, that we want it to do? And work the problem. Never give up on it, by the way. Don't give up. Keep flying the plane. One of the hazardous attitudes we talk about is resignation. The worst one, in my opinion. It's where you give up and you think, I can't do anything else. Like I'm gonna crash and I have no control over the plane. You always have something you can do. Fly through the crash, and you're more likely to walk away than if you were just to give up. Next, we talk about personal minimums. So legally, we have to have 30 minutes of fuel, or we have to stay 500 feet below clouds, or have 3 miles of visibility. That's fine legally, but it's always a good idea to add on your own personal minimums. And we also talk about the PAVE checklist, which stands for the pilot, the aircraft, the environment, that's right, that V over there, environment, and the external pressures. So we talk about personal minimums in all of these categories and how we might mitigate risk. So the pilot, you are more than likely going to be the cause of a crash or an accident. Pilots typically are, or a pilot error is one of the leading causes of accidents or incidents. So you want to make sure that you are safe to fly. We start with the I'm safe checklist. Are you feeling ill? Have you taken any medication? Are you under any stress? Have you had alcohol in the last 8 hours? Are you fatigued? Have you had a good meal? Are you under any emotional stress, or have you had enough to eat? So we make sure that the pilot is safe to fly. And then we've got all our documents aboard as well. So our photo ID, medical, our pilot certificate, our logbook. Now then we go pre-flight the plane. We make sure that it's up to date. It's got its inspections done. It is safe to fly. We use our checklist to pre-flight, and then we mitigate any risks there. And then the environment. We review the NOTAMs and weather, and then external pressures. Am I under any additional pressure to finish this flight for like family or to impress a girl or whatever, right? We want to think about what external pressures might be causing us unnecessary risk. Then we talk about the five hazardous attitudes in aviation. I use the acronym RAIM with an additional I, and it's resignation or giving up on a flight or a situation. Anti-authority, that's like, don't tell me what to do. The rules are stupid. I'm gonna go do whatever I want to do. Impulsivity, getting things done really quick and not thinking about what you're doing. Invulnerability, believing that you are untouchable or that things will not affect you. Like, I'm never gonna have an engine failure because I'm an awesome pilot. Or macho, where you're like, look how cool I am. Let me go do cool things like doing barrel rolls in a 172. So we want to identify these hazardous attitudes. Am I resigning myself to my fate? Am I exhibiting anti-authority? Am I being impulsive? Do I think that I'm untouchable, or do I think I'm, the coolest pilot that's ever lived and doing hazardous things? And you want to identify these and then apply the antidote, as the FAA calls it. So resignation, don't give up. There's always something you can do. Anti-authority, the rules are written in blood. So follow the regulations, do the right thing. Impulsivity, slow down. I tend to be a little quick because I get excited about flying. So I got to slow down, take my time. Right. Invulnerability, realize that it can happen to you. I've had a couple of emergencies myself, mostly radio failures or little things. It can happen to you, so be ready for it, train for it. And then macho, the best way to show that you're a good pilot is to show how smoothly you fly and how well you fly within the regulations.